presidential election did not, president at least in the presidential election did not commit unmanageable level of public expenditure. His salary plus various other reliefs and support programs announced were very much modest compared to the alternative proposals came forward. So therefore we feel that a budget that we have to manage is a manageable one, and I think 2010 we will be able to keep the budget deficit below 7.5% and get the required support from the private sector to expand its economic activities. Immediate 2010 we don't see a challenge because the agriculture, livestock, fisheries, tourism, manufacturing and the service sectors are very buoyant, and we don't see double-digit inflationary pressure here, though inflation is picking up from associate with the growth numbers, and then 2011 it's basically a consolidation and takeoff.
In terms of financing the budget, would it be more commercial bonds like we saw last year, or how would the composition be?
That is again a misrepresentation, because if you take our budgets, we basically have a mix of long-term funding. If you take roughly about $250 million of public investment coming from outright grant, where is no repayment, no interest. Then we have about another $500 million, $450 to $500 million coming from ADB, World Bank, Japan, those three multilateral sources, which are 20 to 40 year credit with less than 0.5% interest. So up to this $600 to $700 million basically at no interest, longer term period. Then we have credit from sometimes even from multilateral sources like ADB, and then China and various other bilateral countries which are providing 20-year credit at 2% interest. So that is the bulk of our investment, like Noracholi power plant to Hambantota port, which are 20 years at 2% interest. $500 million is the capital market borrowing, not a regular borrowing, but that is basically to represent our presence in the capital market. And so if you take the combination of all these credits, which are basically being mobilized in support of government public investment strategies, weighted average interest is not over 2%.
So this year also more or less the same trend would continue?
This year also more or less the same trend, but I don't think we will have to go towards $500 million bond issue this year, because the funds available are quite sufficient to manage maybe $200 million depending on the needs. But on average our debt profile does not expose Sri Lanka to a very heavy commercial borrowing, considering the structure the government has adopted in mobilizing the required fund for public investment.
On the expenditure side, would there be a salary increase for the government sector as promised by the government?
Yes, salary increase will be the salary increase announced already by the president during the presidential elections, and that is basically built into the estimates which I referred to you.
Right. And finally, Doctor, your growth targets for 2010 and also the short term for Sri Lanka.
2010, my growth targets will be, because as I told you, end of the quarter we have seen a 6% growth. 2009, in fact, Sri Lanka came back to 6% growth. If you take this aberration period of last quarter of 2008 and the first 2 quarters of the 2009, then Sri Lanka more or less growing near 6% throughout the period of 2005 to 2009. And now the 2010, we are quite optimistic and I think it is a realistic judgment that 2010 Sri Lanka will grow within the range of 6 to 7%. 6 to 7% is the growth target that we are now seeing, because first half we are going to see, after several years, a bumper crop in the paddy fruits and vegetable and agriculture sector, tea, rubber, coconuts, all are doing well. Minor agriculture exports are getting good prices as well as good output. Manufacturing sector is recording a near 6% growth, partly because the domestic manufacturing is doing well and partly exports are recovering. And then the service economy, banking, tourism, the trade, all are picking up, and so all three sectors will record over 6% growth during 2010. So my prediction is 2010 would be would exceed the 6% growth and reach near 7%.
Well, on that note, Dr. Jayasundara, thank you very much for joining us today in the middle of your very busy schedule.
Thank you very much.
That was the Treasury Secretary Dr. P.B. Jayasundara.